You need to spend money in retirement. Have you ever had a financial planner tell you to spend money? Typically, financial planners are telling you save, 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 save. One reason is because maybe you've had some advisor that's been working for you in the past, someone while you were climbing the mountain in the accumulation phase. Well, now if you are between the ages of 55 to 70, you're on your way down the mountain, you're preparing to retire, or you're already in retirement and your life has changed, and that's why your thinking has to change. And for many of our clients, this is a paradigm shift. And so in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to plan for coming down the mountain and how you can enjoy this retirement you have spent so much time and so much sweat into building over the last 30 or 40 years. So that's what we have in store for today's episode of Joe Knows Retirement.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So we work with a crowd of people that we term as Midwestern Millionaires, and I'm actually writing a book about this concept, and it should be out later this year, the beginning of 2025, and it's literally called the Midwestern Millionaire. So what is the Midwestern Millionaire? You're probably saying, I've never heard that before, and the reason why is because I've actually created it myself. And so the Midwestern Millionaire basically sums up the people that we work with. We work with the people who are the millionaire next door, right? Those who have accumulated $1 million or more, who have basically Midwestern values. And, we get clients that come to us from all over the country and, they say, well, I'm not from the Midwest, but I have Midwestern values. And we see that all over the country. And so what Midwestern values means is, someone who's a diligent saver, someone who is typically frugal, someone who, is hardworking, someone family oriented, someone who is maybe more risk adverse, wants to make sure they're not missing anything. And most importantly, someone who hates taxes, right? And so that's personally my opinion on taxes, so much that I actually wrote a book called I Hate Taxes. And if you haven't read that, I would highly encourage you to read that to make sure you're covering tax planning throughout your retirement, to make sure you're not missing anything is the goal with that book. And so, we see a lot of people in that Midwestern Millionaire concept where they're the best savers, but they're the worst spenders. And with the majority of our clients, we're not telling them to save more. We're telling them to spend more because it's a paradigm shift. All their life, they've been saving. They've been taking the coupons in. They've been buying stuff on sale. I'll even tell you a story about my mom that I wrote about in that book, I Hate Taxes, is my mom loves blueberries. And my mom is a Midwestern millionaire. She is hardworking, and she's taught me everything that I know to get to the point that I'm at now. And something about my mom is when she goes to the store and blueberries are on sale, she is going to stock up. Now, if she goes to the store and blueberries are not on sale, she won't buy any. And, a lot of our clients are like, that's me. I'm like your mom. And I say, yeah, you're like my crazy mom, right? And so my mom loves her blueberries. She puts them in her smoothie every single morning. And so when I'm over at her house, whenever I open up the freezer, there's 50 pints of blueberries in there. And I go, Mom, why are you doing this? And she goes, I'm not going to pay double the price by going next week. Right? And that is the Midwestern Millionaire concept. And so what I have to consistently remind my mom, and even myself, because I'm the same way, is you have enough money, go do what you want to do. Now, for many people, they may not get any joy from spending money. It may actually stress them out. And if that's you, don't listen to the advice here today of spend money in retirement. All I'm trying to get across in this video here today is to encourage you that you do have the opportunity to spend money if you've done your right work up to this point of saving enough money, which most of the people who watch these videos have done that from, the people who have scheduled a time with us. We're typically seeing that they've done a really good job saving up until this point. And so that's really our, hope for you is to have that freedom, the peace of mind to know that you can. So my mom tells me, I know I can, I just don't really want to. I get joy from finding a deal, from saving money, and I want to use that money in a different way rather than paying for full price blueberries. So whatever it's going to be for you, it's going to be different for everyone. But I just want to give you permission that if you've done the right work up to this point, if you've worked the last 40 years, you can go spend more money if you want to. And so what can it look like to spend more money in retirement? Well, one of the main ones we always hear is travel, right? Go travel across the country. Go do all of these different things. And for me, I personally love to travel. And, just this year, I went to Australia, I went to Hawaii, and I went to Patagonia. 3 very, very extreme trips. And so I always try to do at least a few international trips a year so I could go explore what's out there. I love experiencing different cultures. I love getting a change of scenery. And I just love learning new things, right? When you go to different places, you're going to meet people that you haven't met before. They're going to do life totally different than the way you do it. But I also just love to see all the different things out there. You know, when I went to Australia, I went to the Great Barrier Reef and was able to experience what that looked like. I was able to go scuba diving down there and see all the uniqueness that's out there that I can't find in Columbus, Ohio, right? I was able to go to Sydney, Australia, and experience that city, which is a very different way of life than Columbus, Ohio. You know, in Hawaii, everyone knows Hawaii. Hawaii is beautiful. And I went to Maui and was able to do the road to Hana, which some of you have probably done that, where you're able to go around the island and see some of the rural parts of the island. You're able to see the beauty of Hawaii with the waterfalls and the scenic sights of the ocean off the shore. You're able to have the smell of eucalyptus trees and some of those plants that are out there that are more unique. And so it's just an unbelievable experience that you can't put into words. You have to be there to do that, right? And then I went to Patagonia, which if you've ever heard of Patagonia, the branding, I didn't even know it was a place until I saw it, but it's just beautiful. There's mountains everywhere. The scenery is very green, and it just feels good out there. You know, it's not an overly populated area. There's great hiking. And so if you're like me and you love doing that type of stuff, then you need to go do it now, right? Because there's something that we refer to as the go-go years in retirement. And if you're, you know, just in retirement or getting close to retirement, you can't get those years back. Your health is never going to be better than what it is now, is what most of our clients tell us. And so this is an opportunity for you to spend more money early in retirement when you are going to be able to enjoy it the most. By doing those trips that maybe 10 years from now, you may not be as excited to do because now it may be a little more stressful. I mean, when I went to Australia, that was a 30-hour travel time to get from here to the north part of Australia to see the Great Barrier Reef. And I got off the last plane and I'm like, man, I just felt like I ran a marathon, which I personally run marathons and I like to consider I'm in pretty good health, but that trip just destroyed me. And so if I was in, you know, lesser health, I don't know how I would have done it. I don't know if I would ever do it again. So do it now while you can is ultimately what I would recommend. The other thing is invest in your health, right? We just talked about health, but that's another area you can spend money in, is by investing in, you know, getting more treatments, getting a massage, going to the chiropractor, doing the things that you have accumulated the money to do so that you can enjoy your health for a longer period of time, right? There's no use of having all this money and poor health where you're miserable every day and then you have all this money, right? Money doesn't necessarily bring happiness, but I am a big believer that I do believe money does bring happiness to a certain point. Now, I think you can have, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, and I don't think you're going to be happier than if you have a few $1 million, right? Because you both have the opportunity to pretty much do whatever you want in those instances, at least reasonably do what you want. And so, but if you have 3 million versus 100,000, I believe that you're going to have a lot more happiness with 3 million versus 100,000 because you can have the ability to travel, to invest in your health, to feel better, right? That may not be an opportunity that someone with lesser money has the opportunity to do. So, you know, just consider it a blessing that you have this opportunity and take advantage of it is ultimately the idea. And also, you know, on that point, go buy what you want, right? Don't go to the store and buy the blueberries only if they're on sale. You have the flexibility to buy whatever you want, you know, whenever you want. And, you know, you don't have to be greedy or be extreme to this measure. But again, remember, most people are just extremely frugal that we're working with. And so we have to really encourage them of thinking what's outside the box that they can go do with all this money that they've accumulated up to this point. And maybe it's a new car, right? I mean, just think of the luxuries that a new car can present. There's less problems that you may have with it, so it's going to be less stress and, you know, potentially breaking down on the side of the road, or, you know, not being able to you know, have something go wrong with the engine that you got to go take it in, and now you got to get a loaner car, and now it's just, you know, it's causing more stress but also more time. And that's what we see with a lot of our clients, is they actually like to buy time in retirement. They like to invest in someone cleaning their house, someone to mow their lawn, so they can do what they want to do best, right? Again, money can certainly buy happiness in those ways, by buying you time to spend more time with their grandkids, to spend more time with your kids, right? To go on a beach vacation. So my family is planning a beach vacation, and my nephew will not stop talking about it. He keeps talking about, I can't wait for this beach vacation. I can't wait to go, you know, on this beach vacation. We're not even planning to do it for another year from now, but that's the excitement that can bring, and that's something that he's going to look forward to and he's going to remember for the rest of his life, is when we go on that trip. Just think of what you could do in those types of experiences to provide for family or friends to share those experiences that you'll always remember. They'll always be there. And when you pass away, that's a legacy that lives on beyond giving someone inheritance. It's providing those experiences to them. So let's talk then a little bit further about, what does this actually look like? How do we know how much we can spend? How do we make sure that we don't just overspend and run out of money, right? So something that we kind of give people a rule of thumb of is what's called the 4% rule. Now, the 4% rule is not perfect, and you shouldn't plan your retirement just around one simple rule that's cookie cutter for everyone, but it will give you a good idea of how much you should have to spend each year. So for example, if you have $1 million, that tells us that we could reasonably take out 4% from that, which is about $40,000 a year, with likely no chance of running out of money over a 30-year retirement. Now, some will argue that the 4% rule will not last 30 years. Some will argue that it will last much longer than 30 years. And I'm a believer of both because we don't know what the future holds. If we see very high inflation rates, we see Medicare costs increase, well, then that may be 20 years instead of 30 years, right? But at least gives you an idea of what that looks like for you, of how much you could ballpark spend without doing really further in-depth calculations. There is the idea. And if you have, for example, some of our clients who maybe have more saved up, you got $5 million, well, you got a lot of money to spend there. You got $200,000 to take out in addition to Social Security, in addition to maybe a pension. What are you going to do with all this money? So many of our clients go, I don't know how I'm going to spend all my money in retirement. And you probably won't. So we need to start either thinking about ways to spend it now or maybe ways to give it, because you can't take this money with you. You can't pull a U-Haul behind your hearse when you pass away, right? You got to find a plan and a purpose for it. And I'm a believer that we are given money to be good stewards of it. This is not necessarily our money, right? This is something that we have to make sure we're responsible with to make sure it's used for the best purpose and the best use of what we've been given. So that's one way you can kind of think of and give you peace of mind of knowing you can spend up to X amount with really no concerns is what we're telling many of our clients. And so, maybe you're only needing $100,000 to live on. And let's say your Social Security between you and your spouse and maybe a pension already gets you there. Well, now your investments are just icing on cake. So now you just can take that $40,000 and go do what we call play checks, right? So there's paychecks and there's play checks. Paychecks are covering that $100,000 to cover the expenses, cover all the housing, the mortgage if you still have one, covering all of the groceries and gas and all of those things that you absolutely have to have. And then we have what's called play checks, where that's where, hey, let's go find things to spend money on that we're going to have fun and memorable and enjoyable like we've been talking about here today. So that's something you want to consider. Now, the other thing you really want to consider if you are realistically looking at doing this is you've got to have a plan. You can't just go and take 4% out and hope for the best over time. Let's say you have all your money's in the stock market. In the stock market, your $1 million gets cut in half and now you have $500,000. Well, now your 4% rule is dramatically changed and you're not going to be able to enjoy as much of that money that you have. And so something we're big believers of is making sure that any money you're going to need over the next 3 years especially, but even up to 5 years or 10 years, we want to make sure that money is protected. And the reason why that 3 to 5 to 10 years is because if the market crashes, typically in 3, 5, 10 years, it's always going to typically come up is what history has told us. Now, we have no indication of the future. That history has no indication of the future. We have no clue what's going to happen, but we do like to plan more conservatively if we really do want to have an aggressive spend down plan to enjoy what we've worked so hard for. And so, we like to think of it as two different concepts. One is the protect bucket, the other is the growth bucket. And so with the growth bucket, that's going to be your stock market money. That's going to be more of your aggressive type money. That's going to be more growth oriented type money, which is definitely great to have, especially if you're going to live a 30-year retirement, right? We need the growth. We need to keep up with inflation and beat inflation. We need to keep up with rising healthcare costs. But in the protection bucket, that's going to be something that, hey, maybe we don't get a 30% return in this bucket, but maybe we can get a reasonable 5-6% with interest rates higher right now that we can take advantage of. Maybe a good opportunity to stock some money there so that when we need money, we don't have to worry about the market going down when we need that money. And also knowing that it's liquid and available there that we can go get at any time. And so those are the things to consider as you build your investment plan to provide you that income moving forward. Remember, you're not 30 years old anymore. We probably don't want everything in the market anymore. You could, but we may want to look to have more of a balance so that we can access this money without having to change plans. So those are some of the considerations that we have for those people. But to end this video, what I really want to encourage you of is go spend money. Go enjoy what you've worked so hard for. I mean, think about all those long days that you've had since you started working either in your early 20s or even at the age of 18 or 16. I mean, I started working when I was 5 years old by helping my dad and doing construction work and doing landscaping and cutting grass. And, you know, you've been working hard for this all your life. Let's make sure we are enjoying it. And you can still work and enjoy it, right? Because one thing to understand is when you retire, you may lose a sense of purpose. A lot of our clients in retirement, they may continue working in some way. But that doesn't mean you don't have to, you know, stop spending money. No, you can spend money at any time as long as you've done your work of saving, which again, most people we see have done that. And so, you know, the biggest advice I have for you is making sure you're getting help from a professional who can help hold you accountable here, because the last thing you want is to get 20 years from now and say, man, I had all these plans in retirement, but I wasn't able to get to it because I just got busy. You know, I just kind of procrastinated. Have someone that meets with you every year to say, how was your trip? And you go, oh, sorry, I didn't do it. You're probably going to feel like you let that person down. You may not have let them down at all, but you let yourself down. And that's what you're telling yourself. And so what we do with our clients every year is we hold them accountable. We make sure that they're getting the right advice. And so if you are looking for that type of advice for someone to really understand more what your goals are and your purpose, rather than just trying to grow your money to the moon and not have any, fun with it, well, then that's what our team does. There's other teams out there like that as well that really help people align their money with their purpose. And if that's something you'd like to explore further of how we operate and how we work with our clients, you can schedule a time with our team by finding the link below in the description. And we'll have a short call to see if we can help you, and you'll be able to meet with one of our advisors. And if we can't help you, at least guide you in the direction to make sure you can get the right help. So just know that's an opportunity for you. And just continue watching these videos and subscribe and like them. And that will allow us to reach more people and continue this content to help as many people as we can that are planning for that retirement and want to enjoy their retirement.